Yo, what's going on? What's going on? The Indiana Fever got people extremely scared, extremely nervous off the fact of the matter because of number 22 is here and they finally put a competent team around her in year 2 with a experienced championship head coach who was a former WNBA player as well as Stephanie White. And now we hear all these signings that people thought that the Indiana Fever weren't going to get. People were saying that nobody's going to want to go play in Indiana. Nobody's going to want to play with Caitlin Clark. She's very difficult. Who wants to be in the state of Indianapolis? So we're hearing all these things. And now people are seeing that that wasn't reality at all. Now people are seeing that the Indiana Fever are serious. The Indiana Fever are building out a roster. The Indiana Fever are here to kind of stay and to make sure that you're giving Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston the best possible chance of going on a deep playoff run going forward. So now people are saying that Sydney Colson from the Las Vegas Aces, who just signed a contract with the Indiana Fever, people are saying that since she has arrived to Indiana, since she's been signed by the Indiana Fever, that makes the Indiana Fever a super team. I mean, this goes to show you that a lot of people don't really know or understand or watch the game or are really clueless about the actual product on the basketball court when they're speaking on and they're talking about the WNBA and they're talking about the Indiana Fever and they're talking about the Las Vegas Aces or whatever particular team that they are talking about. But there's no way in hell that she's going to make them a super team. And the fact of the matter is, I'm gonna break it down as her Sid as a player, and also I'm gonna talk about the social media notes. The fact of the matter is, most people are threatened, and they already want to start their excuses of the Indiana Fever. They were saying that the Indiana Fever were a super team because they had 3 All-Stars last year. So now they're saying that free agents didn't care about the off-court nonsense, the off-court noise. Now they're saying that free agents want to sign with the Indiana Fever, and now they're about to start generating the excuses. They're about to start generating issues and creating narratives and trying to force agendas or place agendas on the Indiana Fever due to the fact that now they're nervous. Now they're scared. Now they're like, yo, we were absolutely wrong. We did not know what we were talking about. We was talking about things and saying things based on our perception of social media. And the world is bigger than social media, and people need to go touch grass because people are commenting and saying that nobody was going to want to sign with the Indiana Fever. And now look at the Indiana Fever. So now people are about to start this push of the Indiana Fever now have a super team. The Indiana Fever are creating a super team. The Indiana Fever, now they signed Sin Colson, and now she's going to make them a super team, but they don't even know nothing about this young lady. Don't even know that she didn't even really play with the Las Vegas Aces. And the truth of the matter is, let's talk about her as a player. We'll talk about the social media and the things of that stuff that Sid is about, and we'll talk about that a little later. But the truth of the matter is, Sid's addition with the Indiana Fever from the Aces is essentially she's going to replace Weaver. So when you look at the Indiana Fever, right now they're building out their roster, they're building out their team. They have their core players. They're players that they're going to go to war with. They're players that are probably going to be a part of the Indiana Fever roster for the next 2 years. Even though Kelsey Mitchell signed a max contract extension, I feel like Kelsey Mitchell is going to do the same thing the following year. She's going to be with the Indiana Fever for the next 2 years. So basically, this core with Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, and Kelsey Mitchell is going to be together for the next 3 years. The next 2 years at least. So you get veteran players around her around that core with championship DNA, championship experience, and now you have people getting worried because they didn't think anybody was going to want to play and sign with the Indiana Fever and play alongside Caitlin Clark. But the thing about it is Caitlin Clark is going to get a lot of women paid. She's going to highlight a lot of women's talents because when you play next to Caitlin Clark, you get to see other people's game, and you also get the marketability and the push that the Indiana Fever, also Caitlin Clark, in her impact on alongside her, but with playing with her. So this is big for these players, and this is why they want to participate and play and sign with the Indiana Fever, because they want to be a part of the engine of the NBA, the engine on the basketball court, the engine of marketability and merchandise sales. They want to be a part of that. So now you have people coming out and saying, well, they're creating a super team. Now they took Sid, and Sid signed. Sid is essentially on the basketball court. She replaces Wheeler. They're building out their depth. The Indiana Fever needed a backup point guard, another guard that can handle the ball, another guard that can come off the bench and be a spark plug. So that's why they signed Sid. That's why they have Sydney. They needed essentially a backup point guard. And we know that for like the point guard duties, 90% of the time that's going to be with Caitlin Clark. But you never know what can happen with foul trouble or injuries and things of that nature. Hopefully nothing that happens, but knock on wood. We know the WNBA season, it's a grind. It's a shorter season, and anything can happen. But the Indiana Fever now have more depth that they had last year. The Indiana Fever were playing 4 or 5 legitimate. They have 4 or 5 legitimate players. Now they have a whole roster full of talent that can actually contribute if need so. And I don't know. I doubt Sid is going to get a lot of minutes, but when she does come in, she can handle the ball, and she's a spark plug. She can shoot the three, and she's a tenacious defender. So that's what she's going to bring. She's an energy plug on the court and off the court. So the Indiana Fever, they needed a backup point guard, and they signed one. And she has a high basketball IQ, and she also brings championship DNA to go along with Bonner as well as Natasha Howard. So you have that championship experience. You have that high basketball IQ. You add another veteran presence onto your team that can be a voice in the locker room as well as contribute when need be. That's what they have with Sid. But she averaged like 2 points this past season. She's not a player that's going to really tilt the scale for the Indiana Fever to become a super team like people are trying to mention on social media, just of the fact they didn't really watch basketball games and they're just a fan of the narratives that go on within the WNBA and not the actual byproduct on the basketball court. And she's off the court. Sid's going to bring a lot of energy. I know everybody talks about the face of the league with Sid and stuff like that because she brings a lot of energy. She taps into her personal brand on social media. And I'm sure the Indiana Fever social media team is going to highlight her and definitely value that side of her because she's going to generate viewers. She's going to generate social media buzz, and she's probably going to do behind the scenes and all the crazy and fun content with the Indiana Fever, with Caitlin Clark and the crew. That's going to be something that the Indiana Fever social media and content department is going to definitely enjoy, and that energy that she's going to bring off the court and on the court is going to be well needed, especially in the locker room. Once again, she's essentially replacing Wheeler, who was that energy and that vibe on the court and off the court. And when she was on the court, Wheeler, she can play as well. And Sid, we know she may not be a great scorer, but she can contribute and she can play if need be. She can shoot the three once again, and also she gets after it defensively. And sometimes when you have a team and you have guards that aren't the best defensive guards or defensive players, like having a guard like her that can come in, spell some minutes, especially if Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell get in foul trouble and they want somebody to kind of give life to the team, she can come and do that. Quick 2, 3, 4, 5 minute spurts. She can do that. Think of a player like think of the player. I can't think of his name. Wow, I'm really blanking out. But she can bring an impact just like the player off of the New Oregon Pelicans. I can't think of the name. Wow, I'm really blanking out. This is crazy. Jose, that's who she can be. Even though Jose starts sometimes, he's like their 7-man, 6-man, the New Oregon Pelicans at times, but she can be their Jose. You know, she can be their Jose and force the defensive side of the basketball and give spurts in the game, give a spark in the game. I'm sorry. Be an energy plug and a spark plug for the NBA Fever. That's what she can be. So that's what it is for that signing. And the thing about it is people are going to holler super team because of the fact of the matter is they don't like it that Caitlin Clark has a crew now. She has depth. It's not 3 or 4 players on the roster that can play. The Indiana Fever have a legitimate 7, 8, 9 woman roster that the Indiana Fever can produce and have depth and have different lineups in throughout the season because the season is a grind. So that's what they have. And people are going to say super team, even if you don't even consider the Sid nonsense, because it is nonsense, because he's not going to tilt the scale. Even if you talk about Natasha Howard, you talk about DeWanna Bonner. DeWanna Bonner is 37 years old. Natasha Howard is 32, 33 years old. They're both on the back end of their prime, especially Bonner. I don't know how many minutes Bonner is going to get a night. I know she's not going to be able to do some of the same things that she did with the Connecticut Sun because of the fact of the matter is, like, you want to save her when the games matter the most. Natasha Howard also, she's came out and it's been some, like, not tension, but people were saying that she wants to get her numbers. She averaged 18-7 this past season. I don't know if that is going to be 18-7 coming on this season. I hardly doubt it, given the fact of the matter is like they have more depth, they have more players, and also Caitlin Clark as well. I think Caitlin Clark can average 20 to 22 points per game this year, but what I am most certain about is that she's going to average 10 to 12 assists easy with this lineup, with this matchup, especially they're probably going to go out 4 out 1 in a lot of times as well. But for some scoring output, this may not be the season where she even gets over her average as she averaged last year due to the fact that she has more weapons and she's a willing passer, and she may average between 15 to 18 points this year, or 15 to I think the range is 15 to 22. Hopefully she gets past like what she averaged her rookie season, but it wouldn't shock me at all if she has a more efficient year and less scoring due to the fact that she has other players on the team that can legitimately put the ball in hoop and take some of the pressure off of her. I don't know if I will necessarily want that, because I always want my best player dominating and scoring and being that generator that we've grown accustomed to seeing in the back half of the year. But it's a possibility where she can have a Steve Nash MVP caliber season, like a 15, 16 point, 10, 11 assist year. It's a possibility she can have a even bigger season, averaging 20 to 22 points with 10 to 12 assists a year. I don't know what her numbers are going to be with this new crew. But at the same time, once again, it has to work on the court. Chemistry matters, and we're going to see. It's not just a given that the Indiana Fever, yes, I feel like they have a championship roster, but it's a championship caliber team. They're not a super team whatsoever because of the players that they acquire. They're nowhere near in their super prime. They're in the back end of their prime, if anything. So it's going to be interesting to see. And also the offense has to click. Defense, we know that's going to be an issue but I trust in Stephanie White to figure things out because she was one of the best defensive coaches with the Connecticut Sun. So we have to see. But super team, absolutely not. BVS, people love seeing Caitlin Clark not have help, so I'm not surprised they calling it a super team. Exactly. Like it's they got 3 All-Stars last year, which really 2 out of the 3, Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark, I think were very well deserving to go to the All-Star game. Aaliyah Boston, she's a big woman in the game, so there's not a lot of true traditional centers or bigs in the game of basketball on the WNBA side, so it's just kind of was limited. So they're still basing things off of position and not positionless. So, of course, they were going to have 3 All-Stars, but those three players that they had in comparison to the rest of their depth and the rest of their lineups last season, it really was them 3 and nobody else. And then Lexi Holt kind of came on towards the back end of the season, but she still has to develop and she still has to grow as a player. So they definitely, that's what the issue is. That's what this like super team narrative comes about. And Sydney being acquired for the Las Vegas Aces, and people acting like they got Chelsea Gray or Jackie Young. Like, what are we talking about? Like, and that's how I know that people are nervous. People are going to be scared. People are upset because all the narratives, all the agendas that they spewed out on social media, have to remember it's just social media. It's different places. There's other places outside of X and Threads and Instagram. You have to actually know basketball. You have to actually go out and touch grass and actually understand if you have a player analysis standpoint or a play the game or you've been around the game of basketball or you worked on teams or in the front office or with the NBA. It's way deeper. It's more depth than like the common fandom that we see on social media. And the truth of the matter is a lot of times people are speaking from their personal feelings on what they want to see or what they want to happen instead of actually talking about what's going on in the basketball court. How they're seeing a generator, the best rookie, possibly arguably of all time, had the best rookie season in Caitlin Clark outside of Candace Parker. How they're seeing her play when she didn't have help. How they're seeing her make shots. How they're making other teammates better. And there are people are watching. It's like, yo, I can go and really be impactful. I can go and really help Caitlin Clark. But she's going to make the game extremely more easier for me and things of that nature. So that's what I'm talking about with this whole Indiana Fever adding sitting down there building a super team. But if y'all don't have to believe me, no one wants to go to the Fever. Dewana Bonner ain't going to the damn Fever. All them there is getting crushed daily. Yeah, I remember I saw that tweet, and that guy is like he's one of those people that haven't necessarily has been on the hate train and the political train and trying to use arguments to kind of spew out his own rhetoric or his own agendas when it comes to the Aces or when it comes to the WNBA, when it comes to his feelings about the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark. Nobody's talking about actual basketball. People are talking about all the outside noise that people want to force people to pay attention to that really has nothing to do with the game itself. I always say hoop is hoop. I don't care if you black, green, white, purple, rainbow. When we talk about basketball, we talk about that orange ball in the basketball court. That's what the focus needs to be on, the actual product. But yeah, let me show you because it's really ridiculous. But it's calling the Indiana Fever a super team when we just saw the Liberty, a real super team, win the WNBA championship. When we saw a super team with the Las Vegas Aces, like when we saw the Seattle Storm last year, who just fell short and didn't really get it done. Like nobody outside of Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, and Kelsey Mitchell is really going to acquire the level of attention that those three are going to acquire. Like Dewana Bonner, great, 37 years old, can play defense still, can shoot, going to be able to shooter. She's 37. She's not in the prime of her career. Defense the scouting report is not going to be on Dewana Bonner. Scouting report is not going to be on Natasha Howard. Still great, 32, still got some game, can still be a viable option, but she's going to be the fourth on the scouting report on the opposing team's locker room when they're talking about players who they want to stop. It's going to be a big-ass circle. Stop Caitlin Clark because she is responsible and generates and gets everybody involved in easy buckets for everybody. Then it's going to be Kelsey Mitchell, that pure hooper, pure scorer, can go from 10 to 20 in a span of 2 minutes on the basketball court. That's how electric she is. Then you got Aaliyah Boston. If she's alone in the post, she can go one-on-one. She can get a bucket, incredible footwork, also showing the ability to shoot at the second level of the basketball court, also the best passing big in the game right now in the WNBA. So those three are always going to be the key players that opposing teams are going to check for and scout for and want to stop. So calling this team the WNBA a super team, when if you look at previous super teams in the past, it's really laughable, especially when you're saying like they're adding a score to average 2 to 3 points per game on now they're a super team. So it makes no sense. But this is what I'm talking about. Let's break it down.
All right, the jig is up, Kathy. And you guys can call me a hater from what I'm about to say. I don't care. I'm a big dog. I can stand on it. Kathy made the call. Kathy made the call because you mean to tell me that two-time WNBA champion, the face of the God Dog League.
The face of the God Dog League, what people say it's just like her being a social media buzz and social media butterfly and things that make being funny, and people love her on social media. That's that.
Okay. The Aces' main girl, right-hand man, Sydney Colson, is no longer returning to the Aces and is signing with the Indiana Fever. First of all, do the Fever even have any more roster spots open? How many folks are you guys going to sign?
It's crazy because, like I said, the Indiana Fever depth last year was terrible. So they kept who they needed to keep, and then it's been a free-for-all in signing the players because they had the most cap space in the WNBA this free agency. But that goes to show you when we talk about, do you know what you talk about, or are you just talking about stuff outside of the actual game and the things that matter on the basketball court?
What is painfully clear, and what I've talked about in my other videos, is that the league, the Fever organization are doing everything they should do to make sure their star is happy and that their star gets a ring. I didn't know they were going to load up like this.
Load up like this. This is what I'm talking about. They're mad at the Indiana Fever now after talking all this noise on social media and saying that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, nobody wants to go play at Indiana. Nobody wants to go play alongside Caitlin Clark. People were saying DeWanda Bonner would never go play with the Indiana Fever. All these different things, all these narratives just to be proven wrong because they're not focusing on the basketball court. She said load up like this because they got the 14th man off the Las Vegas Aces bench that's now going to be a part of the Indiana Fever, which once again, when we talk about her actual game, she can shoot the three. She's a tenacious defender. She gets after defensively. She's going to spell minutes for Kelsey Mitchell, DeWanda Bonner, Caitlin Clark, if they're in foul trouble and things of that nature. But she's definitely not a player that's going to tip the scale. So load up like this, though, because people think, oh, two-time WNBA champion. Yes, she's a champion, but she wasn't really a focal point out of any of those championships. To be honest, in 2023, she had her moment, if you watch the games back then, but it wasn't like she was the sole reason why or the main reason, or not even a little bit of the reason why they won those championships. Load up like this? Come on.
Though, DeWanda Bonner, Sydney Colson, just re-signed Kelsey Mitchell. You already have Aaliyah Boston. You have Caitlin.
Tears.
Lexi. You got the MAGA Barbie. Look, this is going to be
tears.
This is going to be good and bad for the Fever. And this is going to be good and bad for CC. Because if CC can't get a ring with the Super Avengers.
See what I'm saying? And you see how that narrative starts to create. CC can't get a ring with the Super Avengers, but we just saw the Las Vegas Aces, who was trying to three-peat with four members on the Olympic team, lose. Now it's like, if Caitlin Clark can't win a ring in year two with two players that they signed in the back ends of their prime, in Bonner and Natasha Howard, then it's a problem. You see how agendas start to happen because they don't know about the game. They don't know about the product. They don't know about actual systems and schemes and rotations and chemistry. They don't know about any of those things. All they know about is narratives and highlights of, oh, Cindy, oh yeah, she's a two-time WNBA champion. That means that, oh, she started with the Indiana Fever. They got her too. Wow, now they're super team. They're loaded up. Like, what are we talking about? Like, what are we talking about? These agendas are very, very trash.
That Kathy and the Indiana Fever has assembled, then
they calling them the Avengers. I'm crying. They're calling them Avengers. Like the Sparks, the Los Angeles Sparks got Kelsey Plum, Cameron Brink coming off an injury. Of course, De'Erica Hamley and they got Enrique Jackson. If you ask probably, and I'm not saying that, I think the Indiana Fever do have a title contender in a sense. But if you ask the Indiana Fever and the organization if they'd rather have DeWanna Bonner or they'd rather have Rakia Jackson on their team, who do you think they're going to say? If they'd rather have Natasha Howard or they'd rather have Cameron Brink, who do you think they're going to say? And I'm not saying that neither one of those players, well, I'm saying Rakia Jackson is better than DeWanna Bonner. I'm sorry, that is true. But I'm not saying that like Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, and Rakia Jackson and Cameron Brink. I'm not saying that like I'm not saying that it wouldn't necessarily make them it wouldn't make them, those two players wouldn't make the Indiana Fever a championship contender because they don't have experience. It'd be just like having another Aaliyah Boston on the team because of the fact they're young, and the Indiana Fever needed more depth. They needed more championship experience. They needed players that's been there and done that. So that's what I'm saying. But for us, like long term, you will want to have Cameron Brink and Rakia Jackson. So you get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm talking. It's like people are fussing, they're crying, they're bitching about they traded Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic. You damn right, because I love Anthony Davis. I love the Los Angeles. I love LeBron. That's LeBron James, boy. Anthony Davis, the best defender in the league. Guard 1 through 5 on the basketball court. Lob threat. We know what Anthony Davis was about. The best player on the Los Angeles Lakers team, the past couple seasons. But at the same time, is Anthony Davis a player that you're going to build a championship and be your 1A post LeBron James? Absolutely not. Is Luka Doncic a player you want to build your future, can be your 1A post LeBron James and go off into the next decade and have opportunity to win championships on championships? Absolutely yes. Yes, indeed. So that's what people don't understand, man. It's hard. It's hard hearing the narratives.
The Fever better get a ring with this because Sydney Colson is a 2-time WNBA champion, a true vet, and
talk about her game.
Amazing backup point guard.
Talk about her game.
And anytime that CC or any of the guards need to go to the bench, I mean, Sydney Colson always makes the right call, always makes the right decision. So to pick up a vet, a professional.
Talk about her game. Talk about her average. And talk about why she is a tremendous guard and a backup guard. Like, talk about what she did on the basketball court. Talk about her defense. Talk about her scoring. Like, what that's what I'm saying. It's just like you're just saying things because you see that 2-time WNBA champion that she is. Respect. She is a vet. But her production on the court does not match the highlight of the Indiana Fever are going to be the Avengers. The Indiana Fever have a super team because they signed Sydney. We know she's a great backup guard, but she's not probably better than Wheeler. If I'm being honest with you, they picked her up because they let Wheeler go. Like she's not going to play a lot for the Indiana Fever to make them tip the scale and them becoming a championship lock and winning a ring automatically in year 2 in the Avengers because they have her on their team. If they didn't have her on the team, the Indiana Fever would still be a championship contender because of DeWanna Bonner and also Natasha Howard because of their championship DNA, their experience, Natasha Howard's ability with her length and her size to rim protect as well as shoot and score at the second level of the basketball court, which brings also when Aaliyah Boston's on the bench, they can play 4 out 1 in with the shooters around Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophia, Lexi Hall, Natasha Howard. Like 4 out 1 in, gets crazy, gets spooky. Also, you can swap out Howard. You can put in Boston and the PNRs and up top with Caitlin Clark, sucking in the defense when they're drawing it in. And because they can't play drop on Caitlin Clark, so they're going to play up on her and try to stunt her probably or blitz her, leading open shots. And if she passes the ball to the PNR to Leah Boston and she gets down the rim, Leah Boston's skilled enough to go one-on-one and gets her defender. She needs to be more aggressive. She needs to get more tougher as well. But even if, let's say, if the help side slides over, Aaliyah Boston is one of the best passing bigs in the game. I think she's the best passing center in the game. So we have to talk about the game. Let's break it down. We're going to talk about like why this addition is making them the Avengers, why this addition is making them a super team. Because to be honest, it's not. It's just narratives.
Professional like Sydney Colson, and then you also have a vet like Dewana Bonner, and you also have a vet like Kelsey Mitchell, and then you have Cece and Aaliyah Boston and Lexi and the MAGA Barbie, and
she said the same thing over and over.
Isn't Katie Lou still on your team too? So I mean, shout out to the Indiana Fever, but it's clear that this is a scheme that Todd set up to get Cece a ring. And y'all could call me a hater. I'm sure you're going to call me a hater in the comments. I don't care, because I'm going to call a spade a spade. Am I mad? You can't be mad. You cannot hate the player. You got to hate the game. I'm not mad. I'm just saying Kathy made the god dog call. Congrats to Sydney. Have an amazing time in the Fever organization. I'm sure you're going to kill.
It's just like, made the call. They act like Asia Wilson on that roster. They act like they signed Breonna Stewart. Like, this is what I'm talking about. The narratives. Boston should flourish with Dewana Howard showing some love. Definitely. It's going to be interesting. And it's hilarious, though. But that's all I just want to talk about. I'm sorry, y'all. When I be trying to stream, I be trying to make it short, like an 8-minute stream sometimes, but I just be going once I get talking about the game and the basketball and things of that nature. And it's crazy because Kevin Durant just came out and talked about, like, basically the Golden State Warriors want Kevin Durant to return to their organization. If I'm Kevin Durant, why the hell would I want to go there and deal with Draymond Green and deal with an organization that didn't appreciate me while I was there and try to treat me like I was the second man, where at the end of the day, I was the best man. I was the sole reason why that franchise became a dynasty, and also I was the best player in my tenure with the Golden State Warriors. That's just a fact. That's just a fact when we talk about Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors. So I would, if I was Kevin Durant, also the issues with Draymond Green and things of that nature, and him coming off of Achilles, and then them kind of, I'm not gonna say putting pressure on Kevin Durant, because he'd have to come back if he didn't want to. But it was just also went from like, we don't need Kevin Durant to like, oh, we need Kevin Durant to come back and win this NBA Finals. That's why when we talk about like all those things when Kevin Durant was on that roster with the Golden State Warriors, and people were saying like, Draymond Green, we won without you. We don't need your ass. All that stuff. It don't matter that they won a championship against the baby Boston Celtics with Stephen Curry, even though that was, Stephen Curry's legacy-defining moment, first Finals MVP, things of that nature. It would have mattered more if they would have won and beat the Toronto Raptors. And people are going to say, well, Klay Thompson got hurt. They were down 3-1, and only one player and one team in NBA history has ever came back from a 3-1 deficit, and that man is the GOAT, LeBron James, and also the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers. So the chances of them winning that series was more than likely not going to happen. But that would have been a year to prove that you really didn't need Kevin Durant, not several years later when they won a championship against the Boston Celtics. So that's here nor there. When we talk about the Golden State Warriors, when we talk about the Indiana Fever, but people are gonna hate, and that's why I can't wait for this season to start, because it's gonna be funny, it's gonna be hilarious, because we're already seeing the tears. We already see it in tears. We start seeing the tears last season when they start hooping and they start balling. They figured out that chemistry, Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, and also Caitlin Clark, and also Aaliyah Boston, who sacrificed in her role last year. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with Natasha Howard, because I think she's going to help the Indiana Fever. But also, like, what does she care about? Does she care about her numbers, or does she care about winning? Is she going to be a team player, or is she going to be focused on, I need to get my 18-7? Because the Dallas Wings were a terrible team last year. Terrible. Horrible. And she was putting up those numbers. I think everybody's number is going to decrease, do a little drop if this is going to work. But time will tell. Once again, it's your boy, Ahmad K. Smith. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it, y'all. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. Trying to get this going. We're going to turn it up. We're going to turn it up. This season, WNBA season, the NBA postseason is coming. We turning it up all year. Remember, hoop is hoop. Always, faith without works is dead. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not into your own understanding, and always acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. Jesus is King. Truth Teller Game, all in the chat. All my truth tellers, all my wizards. Appreciate y'all hopping in the chat. I'm gone, man. Peace.